Hello, my name is Jessica Hooper, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as the next head of school of Newton Country Day School of the Sacred Heart. My family and I look forward to joining the Newton community this summer, and I look forward to meeting you. As I stand here in our school chapel, I cannot help but think of the religious of the Sacred Heart who have come before us, those whose active faith in God inspired them to dream, those who created this chapel, honoring female saints who exercise lives of wise freedom. This heart of our school anchors our traditions, and yet it also challenges us. It challenges us to pursue new horizons and to act with courage and confidence in the pursuit of being an example of God's love in the world. I first learned of the Sacred Heart tradition through my friend, Sister Gina Rodee, who I first met at the University of San Diego, where she was serving as the Assistant Vice President for Mission and Ministry. I was immediately struck by her presence. Through her gentle and loving spirit, she exudes a life of courage and confidence. She was one of the first people I called to discern this opportunity, and she was one of the first people I called to share my appointment. I am indebted to her, not only for her wise advisement throughout the years, but for her encouragement and her friendship. As Goal 4 so wisely proposes, we build community as a Christian value and the extension of our faith. In that spirit, I invite you to also learn from Sister Gina Rodee about the ways in which the religious of the Sacred Heart charism has formed her life and how a Sacred Heart education rooted in God's love is a gift that lasts a lifetime. Hello, my name is Jessica Hooper, and I'm honored to serve as your next head of school. Today, I'm here with a dear friend and a wise advisor, Sister Gina Rodee, a religious of the Sacred Heart who has faithfully served the Society of the Sacred Heart in the field of education for more than 55 years, most recently in leadership roles at the University of San Diego. Sister Gina, I thought we might take a moment together to discuss all the ways that a Sacred Heart education uniquely prepares young women for the needs of today's world. So perhaps, just to give us a little history, you could come to tell us, how did you come to choose the Society of the Sacred Heart?
Well, what a big question. Well, it started at the San Diego College for Women, and I was there in the early days of the college and met for the first time the religious of the Sacred Heart. And I didn't know them at all, but what I sensed from the very beginning is such a loving atmosphere and acceptance and all of that. And came to discover later that was their charism of knowing the heart of Christ or the love of God and communicating that to others. But I didn't even know the word charism. I was just experiencing it. But one thing that I remarked is how each one was accepted for who she was, how nurtured each one was, and how loved, really. So later, I learned a lot about what the charism was and saw and realized it's expressed in the mission of education. Yeah.
And it's amazing, in my time at Newton Country Day School, which has been limited, it was immediately obvious to me how much the girls feel that love. And, it was obvious they would share with me, through the faculty interactions, the staff interactions, but it's all rooted in the charism. So that tradition lives on. And the tradition began with St. Madeleine Sophie.
Right.
And, I know there's so many pieces of wisdom that she has offered.
I'd like to ask you, is there something special in the teaching of St. Madeleine Sophie that attracts you or interests you?
Yes, well, I have to say it took my breath away to learn of the rooted tradition, and I recognize, coming from St. Madeleine Sophie, of what it means to be a woman of courage and confidence. Yeah. And, I have a daughter, Claire, who is 14 years old, and as I imagine who I want her to be for the world and how I hope the education of a Sacred Heart school forms her, that if she's a woman in the world that acts from courage and is confident in her convictions, so that those tenets that St. Madeleine Sophie brings forward, inspire everyone, but particularly in an all-girls environment. In today's world, I think they call us to take, the risks that require the building of resilience. It's also incredible to be joining a network of schools, and not just nationally, but globally.
Yes.
And the opportunities and the communities, right? That active community that we get to form, not just in our own school, but across the globe. And that's all thanks to the Religious of the Sacred Heart. So knowing that you have, a wide scope of the schools across the country, when you meet graduates, how would you say they are distinguished as a graduate of a Sacred Heart school?
They have really experienced together a common education or a common philosophy of education, which really goes back to that charism. It comes from the charism, the mission of education. So I think that bond that unites them is very striking. I've been in different parts of the world and met people that I didn't even know. I don't know their name, but they say they're an alumna of the Sacred Heart. We say, oh, isn't that great? I mean, you're friends right away.
Yes, and it's remarkable to look at the scope of what the sisters have built, and then you add the layer of when these schools were built and the vision it took to build. And we're both alum of the University of San Diego.
Yes, we
rooted in the tradition of the Society of the Sacred Heart. And so I share that with you. There's a distinguishing sense of self that I've noticed in the graduates. And it can only be the charism that unites all of these countries.
It's very strong. But Jessica, that we are getting fewer as Religious of the Sacred Heart. And I've thought about this a lot. We've entrusted that to the faculties. Now they are really living that charism and continuing it in the schools, which is marvelous.
I'm very fortunate to be serving next, following the footsteps of Sister Rogers, who really, again, dared to dream for what Newton Country Day School could be for Boston, for the country, for the world. And I'm so thankful to her for what she has built, and to Nikki Noel, who has served this past year as interim head of school.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for taking this time.
I don't want to finish without congratulating you on being named the head of Newton Country Day School of the Sacred Heart. It's a wonderful school. I know it. I've been there, and I love it myself. So I just want to congratulate you and to tell you that my prayers will follow you.
Thank you. It is an honor of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to join the community.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
We're happy
Thank you for this
you
time.
too.
Thank you.